All right, Jacqui. Well, thank you very much for joining us here and doing this interview for FX Pedal Planet. I've got to say, I've had a look when you first came into the group, and I remember you joining the group, and I looked on your music and stuff like that, and it's phenomenal. Your guitar talents and things like
Oh,
that.
oh,
So I was wondering if we could maybe just have a chat about that at first. You know, your sort of musical influences and things like that. Um, I've seen on some of your Facebooks and things like that, you've described yourself as sort of a gothic rock guitarist. Is that right?
yeah, well, in a way, I mean, I wouldn't actually say I was trying to be that, but obviously it is a genre, and I think a lot of people, because of the bands I've been in, are very kind of gothic,
Yeah.
you know. And I mean, my band at the moment, Azrek, they're kind of gothic rock, all
Yeah.
females at the moment. So, I mean, they're really cool, and we play some good rock. I've always been weird because I was more into the blues. That's how I kind of got into the guitar. And also I love like kind of the rock, the heavy, the metal stuff, you
Right.
know, and so I really enjoy that kind of stuff. So I was never really into I don't know, the gothic music, you know, although I've played some gigs at Whitby with my former band, Razor Blade Kisses.
Yeah, I've had to listen to those, and yeah,
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 and we
the
used to like
ballerina
really
song,
dress up.
and
They had their gothic Lolita clothes, and you know, all the kind of. They have a certain genre of music, so they never really used to. I'd start trying to make up something that would be a bit too metally, and it would be like, oh no, no, tone that down. We're in this genre.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, that
left to left to my own devices,
yeah, well, that
obviously.
actually kind of answers one of the things I was going to talk about, because I've been listening to your music, and I mean, you've done work with bands like The Clandestine and
Mhm.
Razorblade Kisses, and you're doing your own stuff. And as I was listening to it, I think to myself, this is actually quite diverse from one thing to another. And I was going to ask you about this sort of evolution of you're moving from
Yeah,
various
that's true.
different bands and sounds, but it sounds like you've got quite an eclectic type of musical taste.
I think that's true in a way. And when people say, "Oh, you know, what genre are you? What's your favorite?" You know, I struggle to answer that because I grew up with sort of classical,
That's right, yeah.
yeah, and all the piano lessons and all that, and all very strict, you know, and of course, when I discovered more of the kind of blues, it was like, oh, just love the guitar playing, you know, and you know what you know when you've got all the pop and all that, you never have it you know, like in the 80s we never really had any you know, in the pop world, you know, when you're growing up, all the guitarists.
Yeah.
So I used to like go to like the radio and listen to the rock show and just record all the guitar solos so I could have an actual song that was long enough to hear the guitar. and
Wow.
and then I remember one of my guitar teachers, he was this old hippie guy, he was lovely, and he introduced me to Leonard Skinner,
Oh, wow.
and it was like, whoa, lovely long guitar riffs and solos. um uh, Buddy Guy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
lovely Buddy Guy, and I think also Steve Ray Vaughan, and
Wow.
they were my favorites. The last interview you done with was, what's his name? Was it also the one you just interviewed with all the pedals? Was he Chris
Yes.
as well?
Yes, Chris King
Oh,
Robinson,
yeah,
the
that was Chris.
Pedalboard,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I was watching that, and that was so interesting.
Yeah.
And he's also
He's a phenomenal guitarist. You know,
yeah,
he's really got that Stevie tone
I
to a
know.
T.
And I was like, when he was going, oh, my main influence is Steve, I thought, oh, yeah, I know where you're coming from.
But
Yeah.
you see, that surprises me. But as I listening to your music, and I got sort of visions and sounds of people like Steve Vai and
Mm.
that type of thing. I don't know. Have people said that before, or?
Yeah, I've had lots. It's a very, very nice compliment, isn't it? Everyone just be like, "Oh, it sounds like Joe Satriani,"
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Now, I can remember the first proper instrumental guitarist that really got me was Jason Becker,
Right.
and I remember, you know, Perpetual Burn. I had that on vinyl, and it was just like I couldn't get enough of that. It was like, oh, and so you. I remember him being one of my first influences. And yeah, definitely Joe Satriani. I remember when his first Surfing of the Alien come out, and it was like, wow, this is so cool. And my mate said, you gotta listen to this. Come and listen to this. And I put it on. I was like, wow, it's just a whole CD of instrumental guitar. So I loved that, you know.
Yeah. Well,
And
I think
yeah.
you sound that like that very much. I think you've got that sound off to a T.
Well, that's amazing to say, because you know, you try really hard, you try and explore. I think every guitarist, they always just like, you always think you're never good enough. Unless some people, I don't know, some people really love the attention and they love to show off all their riffs, and then there's a lot of us that are like, suddenly it's like, well, I don't know what to play. Do you know what I mean?
Quite often when I'm struggling for riffs, I just stick the wah wah on, and that
Oh,
it
yeah. Oh, great. I know what you mean. Yeah, it was always a good one of my fave sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jason Becker, Steve Vai, some brilliant stuff, and the fact that people would say, "Oh, you sound like," it's like, "Whoa, I'm blown away," you know.
Yeah, well, I definitely got that. You know, I got more of that than the blues type of thing.
That's what surprises me,
You know,
because I'm always so into the blues, and to be honest, to unwind, I'll be listening to some Steve Ray Vaughan, and always come home to that. And then I listen to the music I've created, and then I think, why? In fact, I'm thinking, why shouldn't I just do some blues stuff? Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking maybe that would, because for some reason it's gone off on a some tangent. I think the reason it is left to my own devices. It was like, let's explore the guitar, and so I tried to get into lots of different bands, and it was really difficult. It's like I could never get into a band, and I don't know why. And I tried some, and then it wouldn't work. And I used to think, oh, I'm not good enough. You know, in the end, I just got my little studio together, and I just sort of did, instead of, oh, we'll play something like this and play something like this, I thought, I'm just going to play what I want to do. And it was like super indulge yourself, hang off your whammy bar.
yeah.
Kind of, let's just play and create and see what comes up. So that's what happened with the CDs I wrote. Yeah.
Wow.
But
So
it's true, it's not very bluesy, is it?
you know, I think an album of blues by yourself would be phenomenal. You know,
I know, and I think, well, it's like really in my heart. Why don't I do? Oh, and if Chris is up for some drumming to
oh,
make a blues album,
Chris would be up for that, definitely.
yeah. And you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be there. I'll be
Hey,
there.
you're
I'll be
really
a rhythm guitarist for sure.
yeah. Well, we could work on something, couldn't we?
Absolutely. So you started off on piano first, then. So are you a better pianist or a better guitarist? What would you say?
Oh, and at the moment, I'd be more of a better guitarist, because I did a lot of piano when I was younger. It was like really strict. Have to do festivals
Yeah.
and exams and all that lot, and I got to an age where it was just depressing me, to be honest. And there was too much pressure. I'd win cups and everything, and I think I was being pushed a little bit there, because it was like, obviously you're better than what you think you are, and you're trying to say, I don't really want to do this, but your piano teacher's trying to say, well, yeah. But you see, it gave me a very, very good basis of music. And even now, when I'm creating songs, I'll do the keyboards as well behind it. So I've always got that. I found when I switched over to the guitar, you could express yourself more.
Oh.
And that's what connected with me.
Right. Yeah, I get that. And I've seen some of your videos, and I don't know, I mean, some of the part
What
where you're
video?
playing sort of with both hands and you're wiretapping on both hands.
Oh, like, okay, like this kind of, can you see the guitar?
Well, just move it down a bit, and then we can see it. It's not quite there in.
Can you see that?
That's it. Yes. Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yep.
Kind of like this.
Yep.
You could do that. I've got a strange, an interesting panning sound at the moment.
Yeah.
Can you hear the echo on the
Yeah.
pan?
Yeah.
And I think it would pan if you know.
Yeah.
But that kind of makes a nice, what else did I do? So yeah, you could kind of do all that kind of stuff.
So does the having an understanding of the piano and having skills on the piano, does it help with that sort of thing?
No, not really, because you suddenly realize when you learn the piano, you've got the keyboard, and it's so easy to look at the keyboard and work out all the notes, and you know the scales, and you know you got your black notes, they're the pentatonic scale. If you just play all the black notes on the piano, pentatonic. If you play all the white notes, you've got your major scale. Now, when you suddenly have to convert that to the guitar, you have to start learning different patterns. Do you see what I mean? I always thought, oh, it's not so clear on the guitar fretboard as it is on the piano.
Yeah.
But I just feel like you can do so much more. Obviously, it helps because you remember, oh, the major scale, and by ear you've been trained the minor scale and or whatever, and you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's helped with my writing, and it's definitely helped with music. It's a different technique though.
Yeah. And
does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you gained the BA honours, I understand. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I had such a great time in Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton University. I was so chuffed. It was out of 100 people, only 10 of us had a place.
Wow.
And I remember going off for my interview, and had some little piece set up. God knows, I can't remember what it is now. And I kind of set up and did my interview and played, and I was just hoping, please let me in. I've got no other choices. And I actually got accepted. So I just remember, like, you know, I was off to college. I was at art college at the time. I'll be catching the train, walking along, just like, oh my God, I've got accepted in the university. So it kind of really excited me. And of course, when I was there, it was brilliant because we could learn all about, you know, the recording, all the studio. That we were doing all the notations on the computer, and just basically it helped me out with performing a little bit.
Yeah.
And also with the recording aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that you'd learned a lot of recording, and I've been listening on Spotify on your on the tracks Petrified and Coma. Is that your own sort of recording and things like that?
I forgot. I didn't even know that it was up on Spotify.
Yeah, you're on Spotify. Yeah, Petrified and Coma is on Spotify.
Oh, Petrified. That was a track I did with the amazing Mark Shepherd. He wanted me to play guitar on that. Oh, there's another one. What was the other one? Was it
Coma?
Some really sort of real cool fresh guy, Wayne. What was his? Wayne Cafe? Oh, I need to check that out. But I remember we done some really cool guitar for him.
Yeah.
Is that up on Spotify then?
No, the only ones I can find on Spotify are Petrified and Coma. So I've been listening to those.
Coma. Oh, right.
And that's where I got the Steve Vai type of and Joe Satriani type of feel from.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And I like your ambient stuff as well, because you've sent through, you've tagged me in a few sort of ambient things. I love that ambient music and guitar thing you do.
Yeah, I I don't mind. Some ambient stuff's lovely, isn't it? And to be honest, although my CDs were full on guitar, you got to remember that it's not all just about playing as fast as you can, or it's where the note wants to go, what you feel, isn't it? You know, and the spaces in between. There's a whole track called "The Spaces in Between" I done, and it really is about. I've called it. It's actually on the Brain Candy CD, but it's like, or I've got it on YouTube. I can send to you sometime.
Please do.
And that's just, it was called Spaces in Between, just for that very fact, you know, just the notes that aren't there, the in-between parts that make up, the nothing makes up just as the importance of the something, you know?
Yeah. So, and you've got 2 albums, I understand, Free Spirit and Brain Candy.
Yeah, yeah. So there's Free Spirit, which was my first tryout after I left college, and I got my little 8-track, and so that was my first one, Free Spirit, and exploring really and learning the recording. And then I did Brain Candy, which I think sounds better produced. So it's like everything I've done, I did all myself. So it was, but yeah, I think that turned out really well.
You're multi-skilled by the sounds of it, piano, guitar and recording. And
I struggled because, like I said, right, I'm just going to do this by myself. And of course I had to use a drum machine, and I was so chuffed when I got it mastered and the guy was like, "Oh, who played the drums?" And I'm like, "Oh well, oh, okay, cool." You can't tell that it's because you know it can get really bad if you just use a drum machine. It can sound, especially for real drummers, it's like, oh yeah. So yeah, I did all the drum machine and the keyboards, and I never called myself very good at the bass, but I did have a little go at that.
Well, my friend Chris, who the drummer, we was listening to some of your, well, we was listening to Petrified in Coma and stuff, and
okay,
he recognised it was sort of drum machine, drum tracks and stuff, but yeah, he digged the sound. He thought it was really good. That's cool. his kind of cup of tea and his type of sound, that's for sure. So.
Because that was what would always bug me, like, oh, you know, how do you try and make the drums sound really good? And I'm not even a drummer, so it's like, oh dear, I'll try my best.
You do an excellent job. So, I mean, so when did you start getting into guitar effects? And do you remember your first guitar effect? I remember mine. Mine was a delay pedal. I don't even know it was made by, but it was a white delay pedal, and I wished I'd kept it. It didn't work very well, but I wished I'd kept it.
Yeah.
What was your first?
Well, the funny thing is I've been trying to find some of my early effects, and I can't. And I'm thinking, are they? I've moved quite a few many times, and I'm thinking, I wonder if they're in the garage. Now, one of my first ones was the octave that you were playing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it'd be like, oh, you know, you don't know anything about it. You're building yourself up to go into a guitar shop, and it's like, oh, well, I'll try that one, you know. And so you buy them and you come home and then you think, well, what am I supposed to do with that? When you first start learning effects, it's like, you know, obviously distortion is always a good one. But if you've never used an effect before, it's like, oh my God, that's noisy, that's loud, you know. And it's just like, don't you find that the effects change the way you play something? So suddenly if you got distortion, you know, you're used to just playing, I used to play the acoustic a lot before I messed around, you see. And then when I got the electric, it was like after a while, okay, well, introduced effects, different ball game. Yeah. So it's like, but I do remember like, oh, I was there and I thought, oh, I'll get that octave pedal, and you sort of play with it and go, what could you do with that, you know? And then it goes to one side. And here's one of my very early ones that I first bought.
Oh,
it's
wow.
actually analog delay.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
And I digged that out. You got the feedback, you got the delay, and that I used to love that. Well, and I could actually, it was like one of them first ones that you can actually play with and make have a bit of fun with, you know.
Wow.
I can remember, actually, this might have been, you know, you mentioned Karma.
Yeah.
I remember playing around with this flanger pedal. And I was thinking, what could I do with that? And then when I was setting it all up, the funny thing was, I suddenly got this amazing siren out of it.
Wow.
I can't remember what I was doing, but suddenly it was going, you know, wee, wee, it made this amazing siren. I thought, my God, I'm going to record that. And then I managed to kind of change one of the knobs. I can't remember now, the tone or whatever it had. And so it made it sound like a bit like the Doppler effect kind of thing, or, you know, like it was sort of going somewhere. And so I recorded that and I used that, and that's just a pedal without playing the guitar, it's just effects on its own. And it was, I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. And I had to use it. And I think I used that in that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Effects, they do definitely change the way you play. And I remember the first time I played an octave pedal, I had the same thing. It's like,
what am I going to do with that?
You have to change your approach.
You do.
To get the best out of the pedal.
Yeah.
And also delays as well. You know, and I think tap tempos were, when manufacturers started bringing tap tempos in, that was quite an important thing, because if your tap tempo, the timing of your delay is out, it sounds
that can get really awkward if you suddenly trying to play something and your delay's so out, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, and I say I
a nice delay sound, a nice tempo delay, and then you're trying to play to a song that it's a complete different tempo. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, yeah, I find that I find, you know, different pedals, not necessarily just different pedals, but different amps and different sounds. That sometimes you can just plug into an amp, or you can plug into a guitar, and it just fits, and it inspires you. And when you go out and play, I say it makes you play better, but it inspires you to play better. Do you know
I love that one. Yeah, I like it when you feel that.
Yeah, I think we've all felt it, you know, and it's strange how these little pieces of technology, wires and cables and everything, can do that to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because if we just had the electric on its own, I think it'd be like, well, where are we going to take that? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, kid in a sweet shop, when you've got all your different effects, your different pedals, and you buy your first ones and you always remember.
Absolutely.
And when you try and experiment with them, and then you work out that, yeah, it's worth, you find a way to play and experiment, don't you? And then you find yourself playing differently, and the music sounds differently, and you kind of think, hey, and then you discover another sound effect, and then it's like, whoa, and off you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It is exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. So when did you get your sort of first collection of pedals and your first pedal board? What was it look like? Or
well, I showed you my delay one.
Yeah.
That was one of the first. I remember borrowing like a distortion, and then I went and bought one because I really like that. So it was basically a distortion delay. I tried out some flangers, and I used to kind of struggle a little bit with them to start with. And again, it all depends, you know, how you're rigging them up, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And what kind of, and you learn all this, and I think it can be quite complicated.
It's a can of worms, isn't it? It's, you know, there's lots of questions. I see lots of questions about which should you put first, you know, chorus before or after drive and things like that. And there really is no strict answer. It's whatever.
It's true, because when I was trying it, it'd just be, oh, right, we plug these together, and you chuck them all together, and you go, well, and then someone tells you, yeah, but there's a certain order, and you go, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
All right, and then you learn, don't you? And I mean, God, you know, I'm still like, your site's really good, and it's nice just to read people's ideas or what they've got, the different pedals. Like, oh my God, I've never heard of that before.
it's I love it. I love, and that's why I've been focusing a lot on the sort of the smaller independent builders and stuff, because there's so much out there.
I know.
And I'll spend ages just looking up things and sound clips and looking on Instagram for new and interesting things, and it's, you know, it inspires me, it excites me. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, definitely.
been a good time, I think, for as guitarists. We've got a lot of toys
Oh,
at
yeah,
home.
that's a good point. You're right.
I think, you know, imagine, I don't know, Burt Whedon or somebody like that, of, you know, for the 50s, and being given all these toys.
I know. They had their set kind of sound, didn't they? The shadows and all that, you know, you know, and I mean, that was great, and that all influenced us, didn't it? But so much more we can do now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, so what does your collection of pedals looks like now? What?
Yeah, you know, I've moved more on to, let me show you some others that, again, like I said, I remember when, you know, you're looking at people that you hear this like building their own pedal boards, and you sort of look at it, and to be honest, it's like, God, that seems so complicated. And you try and string your own little pedals along, and you just realize, well, that's what they're doing. They're pulling together what they like, what sound they want, you know, and putting them together. So it's like, yeah, and that's always good to remember. I always found wah, like I said, like you said, is always a good. And it's funny, I'm thinking, what's my favorite pedal? And I'm looking around me at my collection, and I seem to just have lots of wah pedals. I'll show you. This is one of my earliest.
Oh wow!
Like, I don't know.
Wow!
And yeah, I think I remember starting on this one, and I used to think that was really cool. I've still got this one in the box, a big old Boss.
Oh wow!
Look at this one. So
all the collectors will love it if it's still in a box.
Still in its box, look.
Wow!
And obviously that's got, you know, all the different types or whatever you might want on it. So that's just your Boss B1.
Fantastic!
They're all in its box.
Excellent.
Well, and then like suddenly I'm like, oh, here's another one. I think this is more of a volume pedal. You know, I quite like volume pedals as well. You know, when you can kind of just bring the note in, so it almost sounds like a violin.
Yeah, I think I've always.
Well, yeah.
I've always. I mean, I've also people like Mark Knopfler and Eric Clapton and stuff.
Oh.
Mark Knopfler uses I think he uses the Ernie Ball volume pedal, and
Yeah.
he swell notes in, and it's just a beautiful thing to do.
Oh, I love it. When you just swell that note up and bring it in, and you know, it does sound gorgeous, doesn't it?
It does.
And so I always liked, you know, I think on the racks that I use, like I at the moment, especially because of gigging, I've got like the small kind of, this is the Boss GT1.
Oh yes.
And obviously you've got, it's a bit like, right, I can just have my clean sound or my distortion. So if I'm suddenly doing a little bit of lead, I can boost that. Or if I need to go into a clean, I can do that. And so I've kind of, and it's great with a bit like a volume pedal, you've got the expression pedal.
Yeah.
So then you can get your wah sound or your, you know, they call it expression pedal, don't they?
Yeah. I've got an expression pedal hooked up to my delay. So
yes.
I've got the time and the repeats on my delay, and I've got I think the expression's hooked up to the number of repeats. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a number of repeats.
Yeah.
So I can set the tempo with the tap tempo, and I can just alter the number of repeats on the fly. But I think, yeah, again, expression pedals it can be invaluable.
I think so. After messing around so many different pedals, I think, you know, the expression pedal I use a lot. with the wah and stuff as well, or like the volume, you know. And at first you don't really use them so much, but I found that with recording and learning, I think I tend to use them most. or it's like, oh, I'm not really sure I can do without.
Yeah. Are you someone like me that with my board, it's I have my, it's very, I mean, for me my board is a bit of a tool. So because I'm playing a lot of covers bands, it's I have to, if the band wants to do a song and that song's got a particular effect in it, effect to have called upon. So I have quite a few effects on my board, but also trying to make a decision if I wanted to actually take one off the board. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I bet you get so used to which ones you've got, and then it's like, if you've got a certain amount of space, what would you do without, or what would you add otherwise?
You get attached to them,
If so, does that mean you have to then start all over again and recreate something for more room and pedals?
Yeah, I think that's what it'll be. So I think you've answered my next question. My next question is going to be, what is your favourite effect?
Well, I reckon, looking around me, I think
I think it's definitely the wah.
Hey, the other one, the one I posted up on your little group, your group site, was the good old Digitech whammy.
Yeah.
And that one a bit, this one I enjoy more than the octave pedal.
Yeah.
Because it was, I mean, you can do lots of different things on it. You can make it go to the lower octave or the higher octave. But with the song that I showed you that I was using this one, and when I listen to the song now, it's like, oh, I've got a new pedal. It's like, oh, listen to this song, look at my new pedal. It sounds like that, doesn't it? Because suddenly it's just like, you know, where you can get the
yeah,
and you can kind of use it as that sort of wah, but that squealy kind of high note octave when you want to include it in. Yeah. And some people are like, how do you get that high on the guitar? You know, how do you get so high? And it's like, oh, I suppose you could use harmonics, but this is actually a pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Gilmour used.
Oh, Dave Gilmour, yeah.
He got like a seagull type of effect. I can't remember what song it was, but I've read that he actually got it from, I think he reverse connected the wah.
Oh, wow.
It created this very high pitched kind of seagull-y type sound, purely from connecting it the different way. I think that's how we did it. You know, I'm sure people in the group will confirm that was correct or not. But then again, using the pedal unconventionally, you can get all these really, you know, weird and wonderful sounds.
It is. It's worth experimenting. And even if you do get it wrong, like with my flanger thing, where I just got a siren out of it, you know, or like what you were just saying. And oh yeah, Gilmour's guitar is just brilliant. Yeah, always up for some of that. Yeah. And the way he uses the effects, therefore. But yeah, it's always good to experiment. Yeah.
I think I remember my first ever exposure to Pink Floyd was, I was on holiday down in Cornwall, and I went and bought a tape. You remember the old tapes? And it was a 2-tape thing, and it was the Pulse CD. And I remember putting it on in the mum and dad's car, and mum and dad went into town shopping, and I listened to this album, this Pulse album. I've never been exposed to Dave Gilmour or Pink Floyd before. And I just thought, that is the guitar tone.
Put it on, you're like, whoa, what is that?
That was for me was like the ultimate guitar tone. I thought, that's what I want to sound like. That for me is the
that has the feeling and the doesn't it? Defo.
Just phenomenal.
I just love it. Yeah, defo.
So when you're in the studio, do you use your effects in the studio, or are you using the effects that you've got available to you on recording?
Actually, I used to have, what was it called? I think it was a Boss, but it was like a guitar. It was on the guitar processor, but it was actually called the GX 700, I think.
Right.
And that just had lots of different, you'd go through your little knob. So it wasn't like a pedal, but one of the units. So I used to love that, and I would use that for studio work.
Yep.
But to be honest, at the moment, I'm using my I got this for live playing. I don't think I've shown you yet. See if I can move this down to see, because it's all plugged in. But it's the GX. Sorry, it's the GT8 Boss.
Yep.
And it's the multi-pedal thing. See if you can see it. I'll try and guide you down. Can you see that?
Yep. Perfect.
Perfect. So that's the Boss GT8. You got your expression, and you got your different banks. You can kind of edit the sounds how you want if you want to get into all that.
Yeah.
So you can kind of go, oh, I need more of it, or you can make your banks up. So it's like, oh my God, I'm playing this song, but then I need a different things for that song, and so I can change my banks and that lot. So that was quite good for playing live.
Yeah.
I've actually used that quite a lot at the moment with the studio work as well. So yeah, I tend to use that a lot now on studio.
Boss makes some fantastic gear, don't they?
Yeah, I seem to be a bit of a Boss fan and a bit of a wah-wah fan, don't I?
You just know when you're going to buy a Boss pedal, it's going to work. It's going to do its job.
I seem to have quite a lot of Boss going on, so yeah.
You should maybe get a Boss endorsement.
Oh, please help me.
You've got a few endorsements, is that correct?
Boss.
Have you got a few endorsements?
No, the only endorsement I've got is hey, here, Davapix.
Ah, yep.
I love these. They're brilliant. And they actually endorsed me, so that was cool.
I'll go and check them out.
Yeah, there's all types. This one's like a kind of help grip. There's different types. They're great. Yeah, check out Davapix. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a look. So when you're going on touring and you're gigging and stuff like that, did you decide on? Do you take a certain tried and tested effects with you?
Yeah, it gets more difficult, doesn't it? Because if you're traveling by plane and stuff, you can't take so much stuff with you. Now, I found, because I've got my guitar out there in the Netherlands with my band, so I don't have to carry that every time I go through the airport.
Yeah.
I also got like a similar pedal to my GT8, but I showed you the other one, which is smaller.
Yeah.
What was that one? Just so that it's easy to carry, basically. I don't have all the banks, so I've got certain, it gives me the basics.
It's interesting you say that, because we have a member like yourself, is a fantastic musician, Nate Lopez. I hope he doesn't mind me giving him a shout out. But he posted something in the forum which was quite interesting as to about large boards and what's the practicality of them, if you like. And I've got a particularly large board, and it does weigh a ton. But I suppose my requirements are very different to the likes of yours and Nate Lopez. You two are you're flying abroad, or you're touring and things like that and gigging, whereas I'm doing different types of gigs. And I think that's what Nate was saying, was the fact that for him, he needs a smaller board because he's traveling for his music and his gigs and and things like that. So it's interesting that you've got that Boss unit there, easy to transport.
A lot smaller, and I've just got it in my hand luggage.
Mm.
And then it's easy if they want to look at it, and you know, you can keep hold of it so you know nothing's going to happen. But I've got a special little bag that fits nicely into it, so to see things like that become more practical. There were a few times when I went to Brazil, but again, I was, before I got the little pedal there, I managed to take, I think it's the basics. So I had like I think it was a distortion. Might have had a chorus and a delay.
Yep.
And that way I could boost it or keep it clean if I wanted, or have the distortion. And I can remember sort of they were quite useful, so it was like limited to them 3 pedals sort of thing, you know, because it gets a bit awkward when you're traveling, and you know what it's like going through the airport, even just with a guitar, you know.
You've got a fantastic guitar there. See, what's the guitar you have there?
Oh, this one, I used to always, my main guitar, which was my main workhorse, was my Jackson. I always love my Jackson. The one I've got here at the moment is Ibanez.
Yep.
And it is,
an Ibanez. Yeah.
yeah. So
That's beautiful.
I love it because it's just got a good sound to it when I'm recording, and it's great to play. I can't do without the whammy bar. So I found out when I've got a guitar without it, I'm looking for it. It's like, oh, where is it? And again, some people think, oh, I can't use one of them, and I don't need to. And I was the same when I first started. What are you supposed to do with that? You know, and oh, you know, I can't. But now I find when I haven't got one, I'm sort of looking for it, because again, it can really help with the expression of different notes, you know.
And yeah, I remember getting my first sort of proper guitar, if you like, and I'd played a Fender Strat, I'd played a Gibson Les Paul, and I'd made my mind up. I was going to buy a Fender Stratocaster. That's what, because the guitar I had was a West Tone Spectrum DX, and it got a little whammy bar. That was my first.
That was one of my first guitars. Yeah, cool.
And so I thought I want that whammy bar, because I was using a lot, you know, the whammy bar quite a bit, and I thought, I'm going to get a Stratocaster because it's got that whammy bar there. So I saved up my money and I went to the music shop, and I looked at this Stratocaster. It's beautiful, played it really nice, and then I saw the curves of this Gibson.
Oh.
And that was it. I was like, so I went in to go and get a Strat, and it came out with a Les Paul.
Oh, wow.
It's somewhere in the house somewhere. But when I got it, I did actually miss the whammy bar, and for years, because I was using the whammy bar quite a bit, and then I just dropped all those skills because I'd got this Gibson, and I dropped all those skills for quite a few years. But I've got a Strat variant now, so, and I do use the whammy bar.
Yeah, it's always worth having the locking nuts, because it can go out of tune a lot, can't it? So you need quite a good. It's so funny you saying that, because my dream guitar was an Ibanez, and I remember I went into the music shop purposely to buy an Ibanez, and I came out with a Jackson. It's like, oh my God, my dream is this. And then I go in to buy it and I come out with my Jackson, but you know, I was made up. It's funny, isn't it? You've done the same.
We might be very impulsive creatures.
Like, oh my God, that's my dream. Well, I've got it now anyway, so. But yeah,
beautiful.
My Jackson, yeah.
And I'd imagine that helps with your playing style, because you know your fast licks and riffs and things like that. And I imagine that helps. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I guess it's all expression, and every single little thing that you play around with can add different sounds, different effects, can't it? So it's just seeing what you can get out of music, like what's he gonna say, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Oh, yeah, it's lovely talking to you, Steve. I've really enjoyed it. It's awesome.
I've been looking forward to this one for a fair few weeks, and
yes,
say thank you very much for.
Yeah, and it's good to finally speak to you.
And Yeah.
And you're just down the road, so we're gonna go out for that drink when we can.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm in a little village just outside Ashby-de-la-Zouch. You all know Ashby-de-la-Zouch.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just in a little village.
Oh, lovely.
I'm all my
That's
family
lovely.
from there, so.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you.
And yourself. Well, look, thank you very much, and we'll post this video up on the forum and everything. I'm sure it's going to create
Good stuff. I really enjoyed it.
Questions and everything else. So
Cool.
a big thank you and a big goodbye from me. So
no worries. Lots of love. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.